So today I'm going to go through some knots. Basic knots, and I'm not going to go into anything too complicated, so if there's any Navy guys or those that do a lot of sailing that are watching this, I promise you it's not going to be some of the knots that you guys know. It's fairly simple ones. So this will be a series of 3 or 4 videos, hopefully with different knots. So the first one today, the series of knots that I want to show you today are known as stopper knots. So I've enlisted my piece of plywood here to help. So stopper knot is for when you want to stop a piece of rope or paracord or whatever passing through a hole. So in this case I'm using my piece of plywood to sort of demonstrate this. So there we have the in this case paracord, but it could be rope, it could be whatever you want. First knot that I'm going to demonstrate is what's known as the overhand knot. As the name suggests, it's an overhand, so hand goes over, you make a loop, and then you pass this through underneath. There you go. And that's probably one of the simplest, easiest knots you can do, and probably one of the first ones you learned as a child. So that's simple. That's the overhand knot. So I'll take this one out. So we have the overhand knot. I'm now going to show you something very similar, and you will see the striking similarities as we go here. So if we do the overhand, you pass it through, and then we pass it through a second time to the same hole, and then we tighten it. That, unsurprisingly, is known as a double overhand knot. There we go. It's just a slightly bigger knot for what would be a slightly bigger hole that you pass your paracord or your rope or whatever through. So again, fairly simple. It's just a variation on a theme. So now let's go on to the third knot. So we'll start in the same way. I'll do an overhand knot. We shall pass it through. We shall then pass it under a second time. So there's your double overhand knot. And we shall then pass it through a third time. That might shock you to realise this is known as a triple overhand knot. And all we do is we pull it tight. And there you go, you end up with a slightly larger knot. I'm guessing you've kind of realised the theme that's running here. You can do this 4 times, 5 times, 10 times if you want to. It just makes the knot slightly bigger each time. So that's the 3 overhand knots. Single, double and triple. So next knot I want to show you, this is known as a figure of 8 knot. So we start in a very similar way. We go through for an overhand knot, so we pass it over. Normally you would pass through from the bottom, but what we do is we wrap it round again, and it goes in from the top. And then we pull it tight, and you can probably see what's happening there. It's slowly beginning to look like an 8. Pull it tight, you have a figure of 8 knot. Nice and simple. Again, a stopper knot, so that would prevent the rope or the paracord being pulled through. Next one I'm going to show you is a stevedore knot. Now there are 2 ways you can do this. This is a more difficult way. You start as per a figure of 8 knot. So we go round, up, and rather than passing it through for the figure of 8, you go round again, pass it through on the bottom. Then you pull it tight. It's almost like a double figure of 8. And there you go. So that's one way to do that knot. I have got a slightly easier way, and it's a little bit non-standard. So you get your paracord, your rope, you make a loop in it, hold the bottom of the loop, twist it a few times, pass it through the middle, pull it tight. Just twisted that slightly. There we go, and then you pull it tight. You now have your stevedore knot again. Same thing, just a slightly different way of doing it. So that's the easier option, I find. So that's very quickly, just 5 knots. An overhand knot, a double overhand, a triple overhand, figure of 8, and a stevedore. And these are stopper knots that will stop your rope or your paracord passing through a hole of some description. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you have any other stopper knots that you'd like to share, then please do let me know. And for the next few videos, I'll go on to some other kinds of knots. Won't do any more stopper knots. We're probably going to do fixed loop knots next, which is very handy if you want to put a loop in some rope or paracord and loop it over something. So if you're maybe a fence post, or for boats, for a mooring, looping it over a mooring, guy wires, all these kind of things that you can use it for. Very simple knots, but we'll go over those next time. That's it for now. Bye.